Hello world of YouTube and welcome to my listening log update for July of 2018. This month I only have 6 albums to get to, so it's going to be a shorter video than I've been in the past couple of months. That's because I've spent this past month listening to a lot of other things to pull together some other video projects that I'm hoping to drop in August, including a new discography review, another video game based top 11, and the first episode of a segment I've been wanting to do on the show for a while. I've got a couple albums still in my request line. I'm always more open to more suggestions, so yeah, that's about all I got for an introduction, so let's just nosedive in. Carl Jackson is a buddy of mine, CJ, who decided to put out his first album ever this year, and I've been really excited for it. I think CJ is a talented musician, and on his debut album he decided to focus a lot on his guitar work, and he's a really good guitarist, so that makes a lot of sense. A lot of these songs are ones that he's been wanting to do for a while, and he's very noise and post-rock and shoegaze influence, and that shines here in spades. I really like a lot of the his usage of noise. I like a lot of his dronier and sometimes very dreary aspects to it. I like, not to say that I hate the softer moments. Songs like the title track and A Small Glimpse and even At Night 2 have just this build-up, or even in some cases just outright total usage of just reverb-soaked walls of guitar that are very lush and very beautiful. I also really like the more percussive-driven stuff. I don't know how else to label it, but songs like Quality Voice Suite Cartoon and even A Small Glimpse, which is, again, a shining moment on the record, have more of a foundation outside of just noise or walls of guitar. There's other stuff there that he's programmed that just, again, they work really well. But where I think this album shines are on some of the longer, more noisier moments, like the amount of living, which is split up on the amount of living, the amount of dying on streaming services, and I fucking love those moments. I fucking love that 25-minute sprawl. I think it's a really interesting journey, and it's interesting to see what he pushes forth and where he takes a lot of these songs, what kind of movements he puts forth. I think he builds a good foundation here. He sells it as kind of a compilation of song ideas he's kind of been wanting to do for a long time, and it comes across as that. There's no real flow to the album, but I don't think that that's a knock to it. This album isn't trying to be that ambitious, but that's fine. I think for a first outing especially, this is a great way to introduce listeners to his style, his sound, where a lot of his influences are, and it gives you kind of tastes of where he can take his sort of guitar work if he chooses to do so. I'm wholly impressed with this thing. A lot of him shines through on this, and I guess I say that knowing him. It's almost like I'm pitching this record as much as I am reviewing it, but I'm not just saying it because he's a friend, and I think he knows that. I genuinely enjoy this thing. I've loved just sinking my teeth into it and letting a lot of these guitars just kind of wash over me, or just combat me. I think this is a great record, and if you're a fan of post-rock and noise rock and shoegaze, if you like bands like the Jesus Lizard, or if you like, other artists who are inspired by bands like Swans and Godspeed You, this is a good record. I give it like an 8 out of 10. CJ, you know I love this thing, and I hope that more people decide to listen to it, because he's an artist that I'm wanting to work with and that I would love to see successful in this career, and he's already getting taste of that, and I couldn't be happier for him. Was every song about love, or drinking too much? So this album I decided to check out because where I work, they always have a music video that they showcase in their video loops, and the music video to, I'm guessing, is the big single off this, Everybody's Lonely, was playing and playing and playing, and I've heard of Jukebox the Ghost before. They were the first band that we played at work that I had actually heard of, and I decided to listen to their newest album, Off to the Races, and I was kind of surprised. I didn't really like this thing. I like where the album starts, and Everybody's Lonely is, in hindsight, one of the better cuts on the record, but by the end of the album, tracks like Simple as 1, 2, 3, and even Boring and See You Soon just are so, they're so milquetoast that it's such an underwhelming record. But I like the beginning of Jump Started. I think it reminds me a lot of bands like Muse, who I enjoy, and their vocalist, he's got chops. He sings in a style I don't hear much in rock music. He almost sounds like Dennis DeYoung from Styx. And this band sonically kind of sounds like bands that have followed their suit, like Fun and Walk the Moon, but not in a good way. I can't stress how flaccid and boring this thing is. I do enjoy tracks like Time and I as well. The piano work on this is admirable, but it's not... You ain't Billy Joel and you ain't Matt Bellamy. You gotta be better. The more theatrical this band gets, the better. There's moments of that on like the beginning of Everybody's Lonely, but it quickly devolves into just this mediocre pop rock that I do not find enticing. I think these guys should be doing better by their 5th album, but this sounds like some indie debut, like we're a band from a TV show who got a rock album deal, and this is what that sounds like. And I like what bits of their character I get, but by the by, this sounds like a product, and I'm just not buying it. I give it like a 4 out of 10. It's not the worst thing I've heard this year, but it's pretty fucking mediocre. So CJ, actually, who's requested a couple albums for this segment, basically pushed the new Deafheaven on me, saying that I needed to listen to it as soon as possible. And I had it on the docket, but I pushed it up a little bit because of his recommendation, and it's pretty good. I don't hate Deafheaven. I think that Sunbather, it's okay. I get it. You know, I get why it's worshipped. I just don't worship it like a lot of people do. I didn't listen to their album that came out between this and that because I don't even know they dropped it. They're not a band that I follow that closely, but I do think they do interesting things, and I think they do more interesting things on here. The kind of black metal, post-rock inspired stuff is here, and it's done well. Where I think this thing falters is when it gets a little too theatrical. The opener has like these 80s guitars that don't mesh well with the sound they're going for. I think it makes sense that they're collaborating with people like Chelsea Wolfe, and the track She's on Night People fucking kills. The last track, Worthless Animal, is just, and that, there's parts of Canary Yellow and Honeycomb that just sound like black metal worship that I enjoy. They remind me of bands like Bathory. As far as the production goes during those black metal-y segments when the vocals cut through the mix and the drums either are full of blast beats or just are downright chaotic. When the band gets chaotic, they channel a lot of those go-to black metal influences really well. They go to the go-tos in almost idiosyncratic ways, but they don't do it badly with its soundscape. And what vignettes they delve into, the more shoegazy stuff, it also works incredibly well. I think this is a pretty solid record that's or not solid, it's a pretty damn good record from these guys, and I was thoroughly impressed, and I like the ambition on this record. I think it comes together a little better than Sunbather in some facets. I think these guys are kind of finding their character a little more, and I think it's good. I think this thing is pretty good. I think that I don't know what my opinions will be by the end of the year, but where I stand right now is I'm pretty into this. I've enjoyed my time with this record, and I think that they do a really good job at making movements to their music and keeping long, sprawling sections enticing with their soundscape, with their instrumentation, and with their just absolute ferocity in some of their guitar lines and vocal lines. I enjoyed it. I give it like an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty great record, and I'm glad that I spent my time with it. I've heard people talking about shit behind the scenes on the album or like some drama with it. I haven't heard of it. So that's why I'm not commenting on it. So the next two records were also requests. I figured if I was going to be focusing on anything that was new, I would make it requests while I'm working on these other projects. And the next request was given to me by G-Man Yoki, another frequent requester for the segment. It's this album 22 in Blue by the band Sunflower Bean. And I was actually kind of surprised by this thing. He mentioned that it was kind of an alternative band that I might dig, and while I don't like it as much as Caroline Rose, the other another suggestion he threw my way, I think this thing is really solid. These guys have this very 70s sounding aesthetic that even the production kind of pays tribute to. They almost kind of remind me of early Heart and Fleetwood Mac with a touch of the Pretenders. And I say all of these kind of female bands because they do have two singers. One of them is a male, one of them is a female. And the female singer seems to take a lot of influence from those singers. But the atmosphere itself is also indebted to that. It's a little more jangly and a little more jangle pop sounding. But I think it works for these guys. And I think these guys have crafted some really catchy songs. I love the opener Burn Its Feel, tracks like Memoria, and Sinking Sands. I like the really dreary soundscapes of tracks like that. I think it gets a little samey in the middle outside of the track Puppet Strings, which I really just don't like. It stands out like a sore thumb because the production, while it still kind of feels like it's indebted to that 70s aesthetic, it feels the most removed from that and kind of sounds like a cross between a Queen cut, which the percussion kind of sounds like We Will Rock You, and a modern garage rock cut. It's the one song that really didn't work for me, but outside of that, a lot of the midsection, it's got some good stuff in it, but I think this thing opens and closes the best. It's a little long, it's a little overwrought, it's a little samey at points, but when this thing works, it works really, really well, and these guys are a talented group of musicians that I enjoyed my time investing into, and I've pushed this album off to a couple people. I think that it's really solid. It's got some really good throwback sounds, and it's a better indie record that I was surprised to have found or been given this year. And I thank you, G-Man Yoki, for another great request. I give this a 7 out of 10. Not quite top tier album of the year material, but this is definitely something that I've enjoyed and will probably see myself revisiting as the year goes on. I mean, I do, like I said, when this thing excels, it excels really well. And if you like kind of 70s rock that's a little more jangle pop inspired, you'll enjoy this as well. It's an interesting beast, and I think that these guys definitely have a place in the indie rock pantheon that we have right now. And the last album I listened to was another one requested by another frequent requester, Rocked and Reeled Film Reviews. It's the solo debut by Myles Kennedy, You're the Tiger. And not only has he given it praise, but G-Man Yoki also rated it pretty highly. And it's alright. I'm not the biggest Alter Bridge fan. I like Alter Bridge. I like them better than Creed. I think Myles Kennedy is a capable singer. Rock critics' impression of him is kind of my biggest issue with him because he does get like that sometimes. It's here in bits, but it's not as excessive as it is on Alter Bridge projects because this is more of a subdued project. Very acoustic-centric, and when it's not acoustic, it's dipping into some country and Americana vibes, and I don't hate that, but I don't think the production suits that style very well. I think it's okay. I like the title track. Ghost of Shangri-La is okay. Mother's good. And Songbird is great. It's a great fucking cut. But I'm not really sold on a majority of the rest of the record outside of a few select cuts. And I think the one track that can encapsulate my issues with some of the aspects of the record is Love Can Only Heal. I like the first half of that song. If he played it a little more subdued, it would have worked so much better. But instead, he decides to get a little soft, get a little subdued, and then hit you with that explosive, big rock outro that I feel like goes against what a lot of this album is building upon and setting forth. I know that there's a lot of genre blending, or there's a lot of instrumentation blending on here. Like when he's not dipping into Americana, he's doing other stringed instruments, he's doing other softer string instruments, but they clash at points. They don't come together as I don't think they come together as well as others do. And while I think some of the lyrics here are very earnest and very honest, some of them just don't do anything for me. They lay forth a lot of they sound a little trope-ish at times, and I sound really harsh, but when this thing excels, it does do it really well. I mean, the title track does echo really strongly. Songbird is a well-written cut. Like, that might be the best thing Myles has put to record in his career thus far. And he's a great player. He's a really good guitar player. He can play a lot better than people may give him credit for because he's not the lead guitarist in Alter Bridge. Like, this guy does have chops, and I gotta give respect where it's due in that regard. The guy can play, he can sing, he can, when he sings and he's not going all overboard with it, it works, but as a whole project, this did not holistically work for me. But I do appreciate the suggestion, because what I've picked from here that I enjoy, I really do enjoy, and I wanted to nail that part home especially, because there are some great lyrics, there's some haunting lyrics on here that Myles Kennedy pulls off well, but it's just not consistent. I give it like a 6 out of 10. Myles is a talented guy, but he also does kind of sound like Diet Chris Cornell at points, and that's, like, it's okay. Other singers do it too, but I was hoping for a little more reservation on, like, a solo acoustic outing, and it's here in points, but it gets a little overblown at points, and it's a little much. But that was the month. Like I said, this is a short month, short video. I got a lot planned for August, and I'm hoping to get it out because I have other things going on in September. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Like I said, I have other suggestions in the docket, in the request line. I've got stuff in there, and I'm adding more that I'm trying to build up in there. August should be a big month for next month's log because I don't have any huge projects I'm working on. So I'll see you then. I've been Viralrak. You guys have a good day of Sauce and Situations, and I'll see you another day.